Hello guys, welcome back to my stream. We're going back on Project Urgot, and today we're just going to be doing a little bit of texturing, and I'm also going to showcase some of the rigging/weighting process that we usually do for the mods. And so let's get right into it. So let me just quickly set up a few things here. I need to pop out the chat. Where is the chat? Pop out chat. So I can see you guys talking. Alright, put that down a bit, and then my reference sheet. The arrow is not popping up. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little bit of texturing at the start, and then I'll show you guys the rigging process. So let me find the proper reference. Alright, I'll turn on some music. Alright, let's see. I'm going to work on the dark metal just a bit. Make some progress towards that. My brush circle. And I'm going to take a look at Mordekaiser. Where's the model? There it is. Okay, I'm just going to pull a highlight color here and plop it down on the model. Switch over to camera view. Okay, good. And just start painting. Should be mirrored. I'm just going to very lightly place down this highlight, kind of bridge it, and go back in and kind of smooth out that transition. I'm going to take a look at Timo's artwork. Try and get down some of these details. I'm going to turn on the wireframe. Wireframe, show wireframe. And just make sure that I'm honoring those edges. I'm going to take like a slight mid-tone value from here and just kind of blend things out. I'm going to make these edges a bit darker. And then just kind of blend in between everything. And yes, I'm not using a soft brush to blend. I'm just keeping it with the hard edge circle brush because I want to have like some interesting textures happening. Because it's metal, I want it to seem kind of, it kind of helps to give that like hammered down type of feel. It's not like smooth like cloth. So you want it to be a little bit imperfect. This top part, brighter so it's closer to the light source. Turn back on the wireframe. Usually when I'm working with a lot of metals, I like to keep the wireframe turned on for a long time. Just because I know that I built the mesh to really like feel stable, and it has like very sharp edges. So I have to make sure that I am texturing to respect that as much as possible. Looking at Timo's artwork, I'm gonna maybe steal a few colors. For that lighter metal piece. These colors are a little bit bluer than I want, which doesn't really match up with Mordekaiser, so I'm gonna go back to Mordekaiser and pick from there. You can't always rely on the other artworks of your character or whatever the skin is, because people kind of do things in different lighting environments, and it can kind of change the colors, especially for the end game, which is really important for consistency, that you kind of follow the existing models in the game, even if the artwork kind of like changes it a bit. It really just depends, like, what kind of skin is this, and do I want it to feel at place with some of the other skins? If it's like a new skin line, you have like a bit more flexibility, because you're kind of defining what the standard would be for that skin line. But if it already exists, then you have to try and make it feel at home. I'll probably do like 20 minutes of texturing, then switch over to waving. Just making sure I'm thinking about these edges. Okay. I want this piece to be pretty bright on this edge. I wonder if I can see it on 2D view. Turn out the wireframe. And Control Z to see where I've painted. Can't quite find it. Let's add a green color. Oh, there it is. Cool. I'll switch over to UV alignment mode and then size space texture. And grab this white highlight color. Okay. increase my stroke strength. Trying to define like a highlight bell there. That's the term I'm gonna use. Highlight bell, like a bell curve kind of deal. Okay, and then I want to darken this inner edge. Just to really carve out that 3D shape. Okay, and then let's take this brighter value, define that edge. Down here as well. Grab that darker value. Yep. Pretty good. Let's turn off the wireframe to see what we're working with. Alright, happy with that. Switch over to camera. Turn back on the wireframe. Where is it at? There it is. I'm just kind of blending those dark values to become gradually brighter. Okay. Maybe I'll play a little bit with the reds. I think I'm gonna copy over from Mordekaiser because he's got a lot of interesting stuff happening, and I don't want this to be like a straight up single color value type of red light. I want it to have some interesting color and texture to it, where it actually feels consistent with Mord. So I want to really darken this curve here, or this corner. It's not really a curve. And then maybe the inside as well. Increase my stroke opacity. Something like that. Okay. Pretty nice. That really allows those brighter areas to really pop out. And kind of doing a similar thing to Mord. Thinking about the contact shadow with the metal contacting with the LED light, and how that's going to create like a very slight shadow across the edge. And that kind of helps to create separation between those two elements. I'm going to grab a soft brush, grab the dark color, and just kind of make the center a bit brighter. I want a darker color. Increase the opacity. Let's hit that red color. Okay. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of red on this metal for that bounce light. Pretty much something to think about for project skins is that they really focus on metal and sort of like hard surface plastic kind of material. But most importantly, they're all about light. That's what really gives like the project feel. It's all about where those lights are placed and how it interacts with those metals. That's really all there is to it. I want to take a look at Mord's chest here. Adding that light in, that would be emanating from those pieces. A little bit of bounce light here as well. Very soft as it travels farther away. Just a little bit there. I think this is getting a little bit too pronounced. I don't want to overdo it to where it kind of like blends too much, because we want to make sure that it actually looks like a metal piece, like it has hard edges. I'm gonna grab a textured square brush and let me pull a color from Mordekaiser for this bright metal or darker metal. I kind of already defined an edge here, so I'm just kind of defining it even further. It's like I'm carving out those edges. I'm going to lose a little bit of the red bounce light that I did, but you should get the idea that those are going to be needed there. Oops. Okay. A little bit of lag for some reason. I accidentally set a material. Uh-oh. What have I done? There we go. No more lag. Okay. So, oh, yeah, Silas has really nice colors as well. So I'm going to pull from him too. Looking for that dark metal. I mean, he seems to have like a lot of the bright color. So maybe I'll pull some of that. Particularly for like the helmet, this shoulder armor, and the gun, but not much everywhere else. I'm gonna pull the brightest value, and just start laying that down. These are the areas which catch the absolute most light from the top down. Another thing to know about metal materials is that they really have like a high contrast between the darks and the light values. Clothing can be a little bit more subtle, less contrast. Depends what material you're working with, of course. You could have like a very shiny kind of fabric, and that would have like a lot more contrast. So I guess it's basically like how shiny it is. I'm just trying to build out these edges. In about 18, not 18, 8 minutes, I will switch over to the rigging, kind of show you guys what that process is like, because we haven't done that for any of the projects just yet. And that is kind of like a very important part of the pipeline. I mean, not for me as a 3D artist. Like if I were hired at any game studio, then they would most likely have somebody who would be dedicated for that rigging process, as well as the animation and like making sure the new model is rigged to the skeleton, and then all like the controls and whatever, you know, all that rigging stuff. There would usually be somebody designated for that. So for me, I would just have to worry about the texture, the model, and how the model is going to deform with the skeleton. So like making sure the topology works with that. Then I collaborate with the rigger to kind of check in and see, like, do you think this is going to work, this topology, or something that I need to change about it? And trying to make sure that it's optimized for the problems that they want to solve, on top of my own problems. But since we are a modder and we don't really have a team, I have to kind of do everything myself. And you guys will too, unless you have people helping you. Check out my hand a bit. I usually paint like pretty fast, so it kind of tires out my hand. I just like to push the progress as quickly as possible. I mean, I could spend like hours like putting down a stroke. Okay, yes, this is more comfortable for my hand. Like, yeah, that's nice. Doesn't put so much strain, but I don't know. For me, working fast just feels right. Guess it depends on the person. I don't like to make progress slowly. Ah, forgot. This isn't mirrored. Shoot. And do all that. Okay. Mirror. I think like this design choice of adding this indented kind of shape here, I think it's pretty neat. Now that plane, this kind of triangular plane sits higher than most of the metal, so I want to make sure that it has a bit of a brighter value than the surrounding chest plate. Increase my flow. Let me turn off this intersection. You can see. I'm pretty happy with the progress on this so far. Let's go back to the reference, and I want to kind of paint out these red tubes a bit. I'm going to turn on symmetry. I don't think that part's mirrored. Yeah, it's not. Just making that part on the inside that's covered in shadow darker on these outer edges as well. Faces away from the light source. Hola, hello Cloppy, welcome. Glad you came to join. Just kind of rendering out. Grab this bright pink color. Just plop that down very slightly. I don't want it to be like too pronounced. Although it probably would help to kind of separate it from the main lights that are almost a pure red. I don't know if I've said this, but usually the rule for like brighter values, if you want to go brighter value, you want to switch to a warmer tone or hue, warmer hue. And then if you go to a darker value, then you want to switch to kind of a colder hue. But sometimes you can kind of be creative with it and go for a cooler, bright value. And that just kind of makes things a bit more interesting. Kind of makes the material feel not quite like a normal material in a way. Grab this purple color. Where these contact with the body, I want it to be pretty dark. And I'm going to come in and brighten just ever so slightly. And just kind of blend. Okay, then I'm going to grab this pink color. Just pop it down for the highlight. Okay. Is that how the grenade's supposed to be, by the way? I think I just made that up, but it might be fine. What else? What else? Kind of want to add a little bit of detail on this dark piece. So let me grab my circle brush and just kind of copy what Timo did here. Do I have a version of the model without those clips in front? Not really. This is as close as I have. So there's like an edge here. And it's not going to be completely accurate because we kind of modeled this for the top-down view. So check out the wireframe. Make sure that this line is going in a bit more. I'll go back and clean up that edge. And then a little something there. I think it's a triangle. I'm gonna try and follow the topology actually. And then usually if I have like a bounce light, something catching light, I kind of take a bit of a brighter color, shift it a bit warmer, and then kind of define out this edge. Maybe I should do cooler. Kind of define that edge there. And you can see how that helps make it pop out just a bit more. I'm gonna go back in here and also define out these edges. Okay, turn off the wireframe. Looks good. Kind of thinking about, is this too much detail? But I think we'll leave it for now, and we'll think about that later. I want to go in here and add some detailing on the light metal. So it's like around here, kind of. I'm gonna bring up my flow, turn down stroke. And there's like 2. There's actually 3. Looking on the other side. And going back in with brighter value and defining that edge just a bit. Okay. So I feel like the texture is at a pretty decent spot for me to kind of try and look at it in game to see how the model is working. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and export the texture that I have so far. And let's export, open where that is. It's called default material. I'm going to call this project Urgot. Then I'm going to pull up my Maya scene, and we're going to switch over to the rigging process. So I'm going to grab his material and make sure that it's set to that texture so I can see what I'm working with. Project. Okay. Untoned map RGB. And let me move you guys over here. Okay. So we have our model and we have our skeleton. So after we've made a new model, what we have to think about is where are these faces facing? So for League, for some reason, we had to have our normals reversed. And you can tell this isn't reversed because it's pure white. And if you can't tell, really, what you can usually do is go to face and then select everything and just shift right click or holding down right mouse button and then toggle back face culling. And what this does basically kind of shows like the opposite side of the mesh in a way, like it's inside out. And if it looks like that, that's correct. That's what we want. So Urgot is not. He is the other way around. So let's select all his faces and then reverse. And now we can see that it's giving that effect. And then we can go back to select all the faces and then toggle back face culling. And then I can go here and say two-side lighting so that I can see the other side very nicely. You want to make sure your entire object is one mesh, even if you have separate pieces, like for the recall or other emotes. And then I'm gonna open up all of these hierarchies, and then I'm doing Shift, holding down Shift, and then I hit the plus button. And then I'm gonna switch over to the rigging tab, skin, bind skin, and make sure my max influence is set to 0. So now my mesh should be skinned. And yes, the weights are not going to be good at all because I have to go in and manually correct it. But one of the things I really like to do, hold on, let me go to Windows, namespace editor, and then I have to create a new namespace for what I'm going to do here. One of the things I really like to do is just copy weights from the existing models in the game. So I've already created like a Cyberpunk Urgot skin, and like the weights for the legs are pretty much the same. So I want to copy over those weights onto Urgot. So I'm selecting the mesh that I've just imported, which is Cyberpunk Urgot, selecting that, and then I'm going to control click the mesh that I want to copy the weight onto. Then I have the copy skin weight option, closest point on surface, name, 1 to 1, and then none, and apply. Then I go ahead and delete the imported model. And we should see like the weights should be a lot better. It's not going to be perfect because obviously like the mesh is not like 1 to 1 with the mesh that we imported. It's a little bit different. But you can kind of see, okay, this is definitely a lot more manageable than what we had before. So the legs should be pretty perfect. And apparently it's not, which is kind of upsetting. But that's okay. So I think one of the toughest areas is going to be this whole area here. So what I think I will do is do like a I don't know what to call it, like a proxy model, I guess, and just copy from the proxy weight is what I'm going to call it, which means I'm going to make like a really simple mesh that doesn't really have much happening. Okay, so what I'm going to do first right now is create a new set for the upper body. And the reason for this is so that I can copy weights onto this set specifically without replacing all of the weighting that I did for the entire rest of the model. So it's just going to be that top part of the torso. El Sirius say cake. Looks good so far. I do have a question. Shouldn't Project Urgot be greenish? I mean, it's preference, I guess, but the Urpaki wanted this to be red, so kind of similar to Mordekaiser. There will be chromas for this, but we're not going to be working on that just yet. So I have my new namespace set still. So what I'm actually going to do is create a new Maya scene. And I want to grab the base body that I made for Urgot and rig it to his skeleton. I'm just grabbing that off screen real quick. Okay, this is on my drive, which you can find on Killer Skins if you go to, let's see, should be, where is it? Community? No. Tools, creation tools. It should be under creation assets, 3D assets. And I have like a library of assets that I've created. Most of them are base bodies, with some of them having textures, like this game plank head that I did because his base head was so ugly. And also the right side shopkeeper. If you click on the link here, you'll find a bunch of base bodies, and it's not for there's not one for every single champion, but it's some of the champions that I've made skins for or plan on doing skins for. And so Urgot was one of those. I'm going to download Urgot and just quit that. Oops, I downloaded a deer. My bad. Let me pull up the history and go back. I really downloaded a deer. Well, I wonder if Urgot's even there. Let me switch it over to. Oh, okay. I need to pull up the file location. What up, guys? The creation assets, 3D assets. Download. Okay, where's the body Urgot? There it is. It's an OBJ. Okay. And then I'm going to pull up my downloads. Let me just put this a little bit off screen. I don't want you guys to see everything. Okay, body Urgot. So, got my mesh now. Actually, I believe I made a version that was already skins. Let me check my ZBrush project. I usually have a folder with all the assets. Sort by name. Where's project Urgot? I swear I made like a base body that was already rigged. Okay, whatever. I'll just show you guys what that looks like anyways. So this is my proxy model. Let me go to Urgot and grab his original skeleton. Okay. This is a proxy model. It's basically like the nude version of the character, and we're going to copy weights from this because it doesn't have any of the complex shapes that we have, and it should be able to translate over pretty well. So I'm going to, let's see, first of all, reverse. It's not necessary to reverse if I'm going to be copying weights, but just going to do it anyways. Going to rigging, skin, bind skin, 0 max influence, and then set new namespace, add selected. Way I saw project skins, they should follow the original character color scheme. That's amazing. I didn't know about that. Yeah, the library is there for you guys. Okay, and then I'm going to take the original Urgot skin and copy onto my new skinned mesh. Copy skin weights, apply. Okay. I'm going to delete the original Urgot. And the weights are not going to be perfect, but that's okay. This is a lot more easier to polish. So I want this part of the arm to be connected to the spine. And what we're basically doing here is painting the influence of the bones to the mesh. So, and what we have here is like a rainbow range. So blue is basically like the lowest amount of influence, red is the highest. And then it goes from like orange, yellow, green, descending into the lower influence. You can also think of it as like the warmer the color, the higher the influence. And so I'm just holding shift to kind of polish up, smooth out these influences. I want to grab this part of the arm, just kind of add a bit more influence. Increase my opacity and just smooth. It's kind of dragging itself towards the spine, which I don't want. Just kind of smoothing things. And you guys, I'm not like a professional rigger. Like, I don't really know about any advanced techniques, if there even is any. So I'm just doing what works for me and trying to get those results to be as good as possible. So this part is really being eaten away. I'm going to increase my value. There, I want all this to be correlated to the actual neck and spine. Increase the opacity and kind of smooth out those weights. Okay, going back to the shoulder, kind of smoothing out things a bit more. And it's really just the same process over and over, just smoothing the weights, going back and adding more influence, just polishing things up. You can see like this arm here, for some reason, is grabbing some of the upper arm as well, which is a problem. I think because he has like a big gun, it might not be that much of a problem that we have for this skin specifically, at least. So I think I just want to weight all of this to the elbow, because there's not really anything there to move, and just kind of smooth out these weights. I don't want it to have influence down here, so I'm going to grab this shoulder and smooth out the influence. I want the bend in here to be pretty smooth as possible, so I'm kind of smoothing that out. I'm going to increase the level of influence that the shoulder has. I think this area in particular, at least for Urgot, is like one of the most complex in terms of weighting. Usually the more bones and joints there are at a specific location, the more difficult it'll be to weight. I'm also thinking about like, because some of these joints are specific for some movements, like this one is an ammo ring, and for the skin that we have in particular, there's not really any rings that we have that are going to be moving. So I want to make sure that has 0 influence. So that the animations aren't doing anything weird that we don't want. Okay, and then we can move this arm around to see how it's deforming. That looks pretty good, I'm pretty happy with that. And then let's see the elbow here. Elbow is also pretty good. He usually holds his arm like this most of the time, and it looks like that kind of elbow is very smooth, which is great. Okay, and then we're going to switch over to the arm here. This arm is pretty weird the way that they rigged it. I believe this, like most of it comes from the clavicle, or is it the forearm? It's not, okay. Never mind. You can see there's some weird stuff happening here, which is fine, like, that's how it's originally rigged. So, I don't want to, like, change things too much. It just works somehow with animations, I don't know. So I'm thinking about, like, the base animations, too. Make sure all the fingers are not weighted together. Should not be. It should be the exact same as the base skin. Okay, that's good. I don't care about that. The head. Yeah, the head's going to be a bit more complicated. Does he actually move his jaw? What is this? The hose. He does not have a hose in the skin, so let's set that to 0 influence. There's also a hose bone here and here. Sometimes what I like to do is kind of move things out and then go in and smooth it. Kind of giving Shrek vibes. He doesn't really have much of a neck, so I want to keep this pretty smooth. Trying to keep it mirrored as well. I can always go in and mirror the weights for this particular piece here, but I think this is fine. Just kind of blending his huge back with the head. It helps to switch over to different bones, so that's what I'm doing. I want this to also have the same yellow influence on the other side. And just smoothing things out. Hello, Conrados. We're doing some weighting now. Now if I move the head, it should look pretty natural. He doesn't really move his head back, I don't think, so, but I do want to polish this up just a bit. Okay, and I'm going to switch over to the spine and smooth that as well. Let's go to the head, smooth that. I think that's about okay. I can't watch you waiting, so I'm not alone with my waiting. I'm just checking some things here. This vertex is kind of annoying me right here. Why are you doing that? Increase the influence. I think it's maybe the clavicle that's giving me trouble. Just trying to keep things pretty smooth. Okay, I think that's good enough for now. So I'm going to delete the namespace, general editor, namespace editor, delete. And then I'm going to export this. Oops. Export selection. And let's go back to my Urgot space folder. Make sure we're under project. Oops, project Urgot. As its characters, Urgot, skins, base. Okay. I'm going to export as an FBX. Can also export as DAE. I think that's fine too. I'm going to call this Urgot body weights. Then I'm going to go back to project Urgot. And I'm going to keep the namespace. I'm going to save this scene real quick just in case I run into any problems. And then I'm going to select the imported mesh. Oh wait, actually, I have to correct this arm to be like the same position roughly. Just going to rotate it. You can rotate bones. There's no problem with rotating bones. The only problem is like moving them. If you move them, then you're going to have messed up animations. So I'm grabbing the mesh that we imported, and then I'm selecting, secondly, the set that we created for the upper body of Project Urgot. So we're not selecting the mesh, and then copy skin weight, same thing. Okay, and then I'm going to remove the imported mesh. And we should see the weights should be a lot better. I mean, this just have a little bit of vertices here that are causing me a problem. Here should be pretty smooth, the deformation. You can see how much smoother that is now, and I don't have to go in and manually do that. It's kind of a pain when you have a lot of meshes like overlapping each other, and it's not like all one combined, like all the vertices merge kind of mesh. Becomes a lot harder when you have multiple pieces. But we can see the weights are pretty okay. Just have to do a little bit of tweaking. See, for this arm, for instance, I don't want. Let me quit this thing. I don't want the forearm dragging down the shoulder armor. So I'm going to select the shoulder and increase this influence to a pretty high value. White is the most, it's like 1 influence, the value. And then red is kind of like almost 90% influence, like 99%. So I'm putting that to max influence for the shoulder. And then I'm going to put max influence for this as well. And then go back and blend it. Smooth it out. Okay, I'm going to select the forearm, and you can see how it's pure black. Now we can go in and smooth it out. Cool. This armor chest plate here, I don't want to be influenced by the shoulder. So I'm selecting his spine and just kind of adding that max influence. Rigging, or the weighting process can be a bit of a pain, but I think most importantly, like, if you copy weights from the beginning, then it's going to get you pretty far. You should never, ever have to create weights from scratch. Never. Always try to copy from a skinned mesh or one of the character's existing skins. Looks like these vertices are not merged, but I'm not worried about that just yet. You want to make sure your model is merged before you do the weighting. Obviously I didn't do that, but For the first pass, where I just want to test it to see how it looks in game with the textures, I'm not too worried about it. Can always go back and fix it and then copy the weights from my exported SKN. Okay, looks pretty decent for now. I mean, only if it's hard models. No, for example, weighting Urgot body is not hard, but legs is hard in my opinion. Yeah. When you are dealing with like hard surface stuff, it's a lot more difficult to make sure the weights look perfect or proper. So I know the weights aren't perfect for like the shoulder here. I should have the weights for the speakers that he has on his dance. So I'm going to export this into the game so we can see what the textures look like in game. So I'm going to go to Urgot here, copy, and I'm going to export as SKN. Actually, it's going to give me an error. I can already tell. And that's because of like max, something with like 4 max influence or something. So what I usually do is hit this 4 button. Actually, I save my scene and then I hit the 4 button. And that gets rid of the potential error that we're going to run into. So now we shouldn't have that error. I'm going to call this, I'm going to replace the original Urgot skin, Urgot underscore base. Okay. And I'm going to go to the texture that I have for him. I'm going to test, we're going to see how it looks in game, and then I think I will stop the stream there because we're been over the 1 hour mark. I'm going to take my texture here and expand it over to those 2 squares that we have. Okay, then flatten, save as a DDS. Cool. I accidentally exited my folder. Oops. Project Urgot. Oops, not Camille. Urgot. Urgot. Okay. I should have my texture set properly and as well as the SKN. So now, just need to go out to the Urgot mod.client. And do I have the mod created? I do have it created. Okay, cool. Project Urgot. Drag in the mod.client folder. Wait for that, and then run the mod. We're going to open up League of Legends, and we're going to test to see how it looks in game. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask before I end the stream for today. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I may do Project Urgot again, or I may switch over to Slaybell Katarina. I'm not sure. We'll see how I feel. But let's select Urgot and see how he looks in game. There shouldn't be any problems. Yes, the weighting's going to be like a little bit messed up, pulling some vertices that we don't want it to pull, but we just want to see how the textures look and make sure that we are on the right track. Okay, here he is. So I can see there's quite a bit of a problem here with the spine, something with the arm probably. The legs look okay. I think they're good. There's some inverted mesh here that I need to fix. Something weird happening there too. But overall, like, I think the textures look pretty good. Let's see how he looks with all the animations. I have to add a chocolate milk mug because that's from Cyberpunk Urgot. Okay, cool. A little bit of a dance emote. I would have to correct the speaker texture for that. Cool. Laugh. add a dummy. Weights aren't bad. I'd say they're pretty decent. That's an effect I'm experimenting with. I need to correct, but it's not terrible. There's just like a bit of weird stuff happening here. And then let's check out the back. The back is like pretty curved, but I think that's just the nature of Urgot's like twisting. He kind of just does that naturally. So I can try to correct that as much as I can, but I can't guarantee that it's gonna look good. But yeah, I mean, here's the skin. It looks pretty decent with the textures. Still quite a bit of work we need to do, especially for that base. But overall, it's in a good spot. Let me see if there's any questions. Why is it for Let's see. Where we're doing all the control 1, 2, 3, and 4, so don't worry about that. Oh, okay, cool. And also, welcome to the stream, Airfog. I'm just about to end it. Hello, Airfog, curse spine. Hello. Yeah, so we're about past the 1 hour mark here, so I'm gonna end the stream. But thank you guys for tuning in. I'm not sure what I'm gonna be doing tomorrow again, but I'll figure it out and let you guys know on Twitter and all that. Pretty good progress so far, and yeah, I don't think there's anything else I want to say. Make sure you like, subscribe, put the notification bell if you want to get notified for whenever I'm streaming. Share the video with your friends, whatever. If you find it helpful, make sure you leave a like. Yeah, that's it. So thank you for attending the stream. See you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.